can be said of many famous people, the part of their life that we know least about is their childhood. This is very true of Saint Vincent de Paul, who would be interested enough to note down for history the comings and going of an insignificant country lad.
Vincent de Paul belonged to society quite different from our own and quite complex, and his era, though troubled, was very dynamic. He had contacts with many people, both clergy and lay. To understand him, therefore, it is recommended that the reader consult various works concerning the 17th century. These will help understand his complex personality, his human and Christian context, and the currents of the world in which he lived.
Vincent was born at Puy, near Dax, in a family of notable country people. The material situation of his time was precarious, since the region was only gradually recovering from the ravages of the Protestant bands of Jeanne d'Albret, mother of Henry IV. Dax alone had been able to resist and behind its ramparts. Vincent never alluded to these events and always preached a humble dialogue with Protestants. The first problem we have with Vincent's childhood is the exact date of his birth. Up to about 75 years ago, there was absolutely no doubt that the saint was born on April 24, 1576, Easter Tuesday. This was affirmed by his first biographer, Adelie. But in 1922, Father Pierre Coste published a documented study with the strange title, The True Date of Vincent de Paul's Birth. He showed that contrary to traditional and universally held belief, Vincent de Paul was not born in 1576, but 5 years later in 1581. Coste's argument was simple, but solid and convincing, since it was based on the actual words of the man whose biography he was writing. The only reliable document that the saint's companions had which could determine his age and consequently his date of birth was the official document concerning his ordination to the priesthood, and this stated that in the year 1600 the ordinand Vincent de Paul was of lawful age, that is to say, he was 24 years old. It could be that the new offshoot of the humble de Paul family was baptized on the day he was born. With the baptismal waters he received the name Vincent, a name he was to keep all his life, and the only name he would be known by. The years of Vincent's childhood and adolescence would have been the period 1581 to 1600. What do we know about these first 19 years? There were years which he was exploring world around him, key years for the development of his personality, vital years whose influence on the saint's destiny has never been totally fathomed. One such source of information was provided by the report sent by Canon Jean de San Martin, an old friend of the saint. The canon took it on himself to go to the saint's birthplace and find out what friends and relatives remembered about Vincent. Canon San Martin's report is reliable in spite of some mistakes in dates which are easily verifiable, such as the date of Vincent's ordination to the subdiaconate and diaconate. Leaving aside the question of his birth, it is quite possible that the family was of Spanish origin. At the close of the 16th century, the family of Jeanne de Paul and Bertrand de Morat lived in one of these farm streets called Rankin. His father came from a family of notable country people, and his mother was the daughter of the owner of a small rural domain. The countryside was slowly recovering from destruction. A paternal uncle, a canon, was prior of a local hospice for travelers and poor pilgrims. His maternal uncles were magistrates, and his mother's father owned a noble domain. His parents cultivated a modest property, but Vincent never mentioned this aspect of being a peasant. Were they poor? The answer must be yes when compared with the townspeople of the large cities, but they were landowners and moved among their relations in various social levels. His family property awoke his spirit and accustomed him to move easily among all sorts of people. His family had a simple faith in God's providence, and he remained confident despite various calamities. A humble family, yes, but in Vincent's own words, they were able by their labors to live decently and fairly comfortably according to their station in life, and they could find a fulfillment the divine precept to earn their bread by the sweat of their brow. Vincent had to learn very early in life to bring his own contribution to this modest and hard-working family. One particular work seems, by its very nature, to have been set aside for farmers' children to do even from their earliest years, like tending the flock, whether this was large or small. Vincent became a shepherd at a very early age. This is valuable because it enables us to follow on the map one of the journeys made by a young shepherd, and it helps us to realize the relative importance of the flock committed to his charge. Since Vincent was brought up in such circumstances, it is not surprising that early on he showed signs of piety that was both solidly based and intelligent. The witnesses interviewed by Aberley remembered that when young Vincent was bringing flour from the mill, he would open the sack and give away handfuls of flour to poor people. And they recalled that his father, who was a good man, did not take it amiss. Basically, the charitable acts attributed to the boy Vincent are nothing more than the docile response of a young and generous heart to his good upbringing in a Christian family. Young Vincent stood out among his brothers and companions for kin, lively mind, and for quickness and inventiveness of his intelligence. His calculating peasant father saw this an asset to be exploited. He decided to send him to study. In the closed, hierarchical society of that time, study was the only avenue to promotion open to members of the third state, and this was especially true if study helped somebody to enter the ranks of the clergy. His father sent him to study to be able to secure an ecclesiastical benefice as his uncle had. This protector, an attorney at the presidial court of Dax, inspired in him the idea of the priesthood. He later stated that at the time he understood neither the greatness of this ministry nor its responsibilities.